The afternoon went by quickly, thankfully. I managed to survive class, and I spent my free period in the school library reminding myself that some people actually went to school to learn about normal things, not weird, supernatural stuff. After the final bell, I stopped by my locker before starting up to the club room. Would be so nice if it was down on the first floor. And not just because I was too tired for the stairs. There actually was an elevator. It was creepy as heck, though. I had tried it once out of sheer laziness. It was fine until it passed the third floor. I couldn't say what went wrong at that point. The air just got heavier and heavier, and I kept hearing weird noises like something scratching around in the elevator shaft. By the time it stopped, I couldn't wait to get off. It also opened into the darkest part of the fourth floor. Nothing beats feeling like a total idiot while you bolt for the lighted areas because it feels like something is right behind you the whole time. It actually wasn't just the fourth floor that was weird. I guess you could call it the epicenter, but the entire school was a little weird. It always had been. There had always been stories about the haunted bathroom, or the voices you'd hear in the gym, or the ghost on the stairs. Typical stuff. But now that I was in the Mysteries Club, I just kind of noticed things. Aside from the obvious lurky cryptics I'd catch moving around in the corner of my vision or whatever, I'd also noticed all sorts of weird drafts, strange noises, dark corners that seemed to just draw you in if you looked at them too long, or classrooms and hallways that just felt off. It was all stuff normal people shrugged off, or that the paranoid few started new stories over. I still didn't know how much was really paranormal and how much was just my imagination. When class was in session, I was able to feel a little normal again in spite of a few little weird things that cropped up here and there. It wasn't until after school that illusion crumbled, especially the higher up I went in the northeast wing of the school. I was kind of getting used to it, though. Still hadn't exactly started to like it yet, but it was becoming part of my normal, in a way. That just means that my normal is getting weird, though. When I reached the club room, just about everyone else was already there. Allie, Elliot, and Danny were squeezed onto the sofa, sharing a single magazine. Brenna was draped over the back of the sofa, and Elliot's shoulder like some sort of bizarre accessory. Mark and William were by the bookcase. Mark's head was bent downward as the two of them talked together quietly. Definitely a pair of really unlikely friends. It was nice to see William smiling, though. Aww. Corbin was sitting on the big table, swinging his feet idly as he watched the others, and Ewan was just leaving. Another girl, Shelley, was right behind him. All in all, it looked almost like a typical group of students. Almost. At least everyone had their head on. That was always a plus. I set my things on the table and looked around, surprised everyone hadn't vacated yet. So what's the plan for today?
Well, I need to head out.
As usual.
I am, unfortunately, a loyal gopher at the moment.
Sounds fun.
I'll be back in about an hour.
As usual.
I'm also a creature of habit.
Corbin hopped off the table as Allie started for the door.
I have to leave too. Bye, Nora.
See you. And thus, the mass exodus starts. Maybe they just wait for you to pop in, so they're like, it's that time. Danny and the others stood up as Allie was walking out. They made their way to the door as well.
Unfortunately, I also have work today.
Have fun walking around checking on things.
I'll try. I was hoping I could stay today, but Mark and I have a thing we have to go to.
Ah, yes, a thing. Not suspicious. A thing? Not to mention, Elliot had a thing together with Mark? They hated each other. Or at least Mark hated him. I wasn't sure if the feeling was mutual, though. Elliot didn't normally seem to have much issue with Mark. Regardless, I couldn't imagine what they could be doing together. No playing gopher for the agency for the two of you today?
Unlike everyone else, I don't happen to be an intern for the agency. I only volunteer occasionally.
Interesting. Make a note of that for next time? I suppose it made sense. I couldn't see Mark working as a gopher, really.
Bye, Nora.
See you later. I watched as everyone cleared out, leaving me alone with Velos. It had been the same since Monday. Every single day they left me to read alone so they could do club activities, which basically meant work for the agency. I looked at Velos and sighed, remembering my complaint to Allie that morning. Even though I appreciated the chance to research, there was still a part of me that felt it would have been nice to be included in whatever preparations had to be made. I was new, not useless. Velos echoed my sigh and adjusted his glasses.
I have work to do elsewhere as well. I trust I can expect you to straighten the room while everyone is out.
My eye twitched slightly. He is so lucky the sofa pillows are out of reach. That's why I joined, right? I mean, on Danny's route, he let us do a couple of things. He's like, yeah, that would be alright. You know, you can, as long as someone's with you, kind of thing. Maybe we can get assigned with Elliot to do some stuff. Be kind of cool. Isn't there some other way I can be useful? Or something I can do besides clean and aimlessly read?
I was under the impression you were researching to learn more about yourself, and potentially identify what manner of Fey heritage you have, not aimlessly reading.
I am. Yes. But it's hard to focus on that when all my friends are off working. I kind of want to help. And researching is all good and well. I know pinpointing my origins is important, and I know it's not the agency's job to hold my hand and do that for me. But if I'm a part of this world now, I want to learn how to function in it. I want to learn more about the role Fae have and what abilities I might have. And how to use them properly. I can't do that by just reading books.
Identifying the source of your heritage is a critical component to learning the full extent of whatever abilities you may possess.
I know.
If you need guidance in your research, you can always ask me. Though I may not be of much more help than just reading books, since that's primarily where my knowledge of fairies comes from.
I know, but I can't ask a book a specific question and get an answer.
What specific questions do you have?
I don't know.
If you discover one, come ask me. I'll do my best to answer. In the meantime, continue your research. Even if it feels aimless, by reading about unrelated things, you're still expanding your knowledge of this community in general, which is also valuable.
I know. And yes, I'll straighten the club room.
I appreciate your cooperation, and your desire to help has been noted.
Okay. Gave him something to think about anyway, and we also have an open invitation if we have a specific question. So I'm happy with that. Velos left through the library door, and alone I started cleaning. But I wasn't happy about it. I snatched a few magazines off the sofa and shoved them in a wicker basket, then brushed the crumbs from Corvin's snack off the table. I'd need to get the stupid broom so I could sweep the stupid floor, and it was in that stupid weird supply closet down the hall. Ugh! I grabbed a stray book off the side table, planning to return it to the bookshelf, but maybe it was Elliot's book? Wait. Isn't this the book Elliot was reading yesterday? The one he wouldn't show me? Her face like, I smiled slightly and opened the cover. Ha! Time to find out what he was so afraid of me seeing. I flipped through the first pages, scanning the words. Wait, this is about fairies? Why would he be reading up about fairies? 'Cause he cares about you. Don't tell me. Surely he wasn't reading this because of me. I mean, he was pretty worried about the sleepwalking thing, and I had told him I didn't know what was causing it. Was it possible he wanted to try to help me by doing his own research? He hadn't said anything about that, though. I mean, he hadn't even let me see the book. Why try to hide it from me if he was just trying to help? Unless he was embarrassed about me finding out he was trying to help. Or something. But why would that embarrass him? Then again, Elliot seemed pretty easily flustered. I could totally picture his face going bright red if I caught him reading about fairies and asked him why. Especially if it turned to be for my sake. I mean, Elliot had no real reason to go out of his way for my sake. But somehow I wouldn't be surprised to find out he was. He kind of seemed like he was just that kind of person. In any case, I could be reading way too much into it. Even so, I smiled slightly as I took it to the bookshelf and left it with my collection. I finished cleaning quickly, and I used a magazine to sweep the crumbs under the carpet because I did not want to deal with the creepy hallway. When I was finished, I settled into the sofa and pulled one of my research books onto my lap. I leafed through it, trying to remember where I'd left off. I paused on one page, running my finger over the ornate chapter header. Goblins, Spriggans, and Gnomes. Suddenly, the memory of meeting the Spriggan under the bridge came back to me. We must not look at goblin men. We must not buy their fruits. What was the rest of that poem? Having fun? I nearly jumped out of my skin at the voice behind me. Jeez! Brenna! Please don't do that again. She didn't look remotely remorseful as she watched me. I thought you left with the others. She moved into the room with cat-like grace, joining me on the sofa. I'm back. I was a little on edge as she sat beside me and picked up one of my books. I don't usually see you here at this time. She idly leafed through the pages without a word. I could never understand her. If she didn't want to talk or interact, why bother to even stay? What I want to know is why you're here. Well, I'm waiting for Allie. She paused and looked up at me. As we looked at each other, she slowly ripped a page out of the book. I mean, it's Velos' book. I'm just gonna tell him that he's probably used to Brenna just destroying stuff. Cat's gonna cat. It's like pushing the glass of water off the table. Do I yell at her or get physical? I was physical with her last time. Maybe I should... It's like picking her up again. Hey. What the heck? I snatched the book away from her in a panic, but it was already too late. She ripped the page she'd torn out straight in half. Stop it! I tried to get that from her too, but she made quick work of shredding it and throwing the pieces on the floor. Why would you do that? Why not? It's just a page of lies and fake information anyway. Useless human chatter about things they will never understand. That doesn't mean you get to just rip it up. She gave me a shove, and I was startled enough that before I could fight back, she had me pinned down against the arm of the sofa. I struggled, but she didn't budge. Why the heck was she so strong? Why are you here? I didn't know what to say to that. Why was I where? In the club room? In the club in general? In town? I had no idea what she meant. Because I have to be. You should just forget about all of this. You don't belong here. Velos and the others apparently beg to differ. It's not like I want to be in the club either. She released me and sat back on the sofa. I sat up shakily, quickly standing and moving away from her. She was up and across the room before I got far. She gave me a last look, her dark eyes roving over me and clear to stain. You are a fool. And with that, she was gone. Great! Always enjoy our chats, Brenna. I sank into one of the chairs, heart still hammering against my ribs. What the heck? What was that? I really didn't understand, Brenna. Not one bit. I had a hard time focusing on anything after that, even though, as Velos said, there was ample time to do some reading before the others got back. I spent most of that time staring down at a book, trying to work out why Brenna had such a problem with me. Especially considering she'd actually helped me just a week prior. I tried my best to push her out of my head and focus a bit on research, at least enough to find a solution for the brownie issue. There was a book, Fairies, Spirits, and Goblins, that had a segment on brownies and similar creatures. I struggled to get through the section, but I did manage to take some helpful notes in the research journal I'd been keeping. Okay. Open said journal. Let's see. Vampires. Brownies are a type of household or tutelary spirit found in fairy lore. There are dozens of variations on the theme. Brownies, boggarts, bukas. Most of them are usually benign. They all share some common traits, such as some weird quirks about clothes, and fierce tempers if you offend them. Their chosen method of punishment usually comes in the form of relentless pranks. I just want to make sure I didn't write anything else. Nope, we're good. Okay. Fortunately, though information was a bit vague, brownies and all their counterparts were common enough that by the time Allie came back for me, I had made a list of possible ways to appease the thing, or maybe drive it off. The latter seemed a bit harsh, and as weird as it was to have it around, I kind of wanted to avoid driving it out of its home. It had been there first, after all. When I arrived home, no one else was there yet. I waved to Allie and ran inside, hoping I had a bit of time before Mom came home. I left my things by the front door and kicked my shoes off. Heading straight to the kitchen, I grabbed a bowl, then some milk and honey. And for good measure, a couple of little butter cookies from a tin in the cabinet. I guess the basement is probably the best place for this. The book had said to leave the offering in a cozy corner, but I also needed a place no one else would see. And I didn't want to lure it to my room. We all pretty much avoided the basement anyway, so hopefully that was a good spot. I poured the milk in the bowl and arranged a large glob of honey on the saucer with the cookies, then carried them downstairs. I really hope this works. I set the saucer just under the bottom of the stairs and quickly retreated. I guess I'll have to wait until morning to see for sure. My phone chimed just as I was shutting the basement door again. A text? I hurried to the front and dug it out of my book bag. To my surprise, it was Elliot. What's your profile picture? Ah, it's just your face. Okay. Corvin still wins best profile picture, although Dad's is also really good. Those two.
Hope you're feeling better now. Try to get some rest. I have to work tonight, so be careful, okay?
I think this is the wrong number. I smiled slightly and quickly texted him back. He was checking on me? That was sweet. I will. Thanks for worrying, but I'm sure I'll be fine.
No problem.
Really? What was wrong with her? Oh, well, she was, I guess, kind of down with the psychologist thing. That's fair. I turned my phone off and, still smiling, went up to do my homework.
The next day.
The sensation was already becoming familiar. I was enveloped in darkness. It was strange how the dark was almost a tangible thing, something that had texture, like a blanket wrapped around me to keep reality away. It was warm, soft, and trying to lull me back to sleep. And yet, there were places that the darkness was thin enough for cold to seep in from the outside. It nipped my skin, sent shivers straight up from my feet to my spine. This time, whatever was happening, felt less like a dream and more like my mind was shut away somewhere strange while my body wandered around of its own accord. There was a soft, raspy voice whispering something I couldn't understand. Elliot again? Okay, we're in the backyard. No, that's not right. He told me he'd be at work. It didn't sound like him anyway. It sounded like me. But my voice was strange somehow. I need to wake up. My eyelids were so heavy. No matter how I tried, I couldn't force them open, even though I knew I wasn't in bed anymore. I could feel my feet moving through wet grass, bits of leaves and broken twigs catching between my toes. The darkness thinned a bit more, but I couldn't stop. My body won't listen. Stop! I meant to say it loudly, but the word came out as a hoarse croak. Shh. Sleep. A second voice spoke this time, one that was vaguely familiar. And her soul's gone again. The part of my mind that was fully awake began to drift off again as the darkness wrapped closer around me. No. Have to... My foot suddenly struck something soft, sending me staggering forward. Whatever it was tangled itself in my feet, and I went down hard. The jolt anchored me firmly back to the waking world. I woke up sprawled on my face in a blanket of wet leaves with freezing dew seeping through my pajamas. I lay still for a moment, gasping in the scent of moss and dirt. This is becoming an every night thing, isn't it? Every night, good grief. A near hysterical laugh bubbled up in my throat at the ridiculousness of the situation. Everything was going wrong right now. Everything. I bit back the laugh and turned my head to the side warily. A pair of yellow eyes were staring me down from a few feet away. I blinked in surprise at the unexpected guest. Oh, hi, Brenna. It was Elliot's cat. Is that what tripped me? Girl! Thanks. I propped myself up on my elbows and studied her. Sleek, black, slightly larger than most house cats, with a patch of stark white on her chest. She was pretty. I wondered what was going on in that kitty brain of hers as she looked at me. For how much you hate me, you sure do seem to hang around a lot. The cat hopped up on a half-fallen tree to glare at me balefully. Ugh. With a groan, I sat up and wrapped my arms around my legs as I stared into the shadowy trees in front of me. I wonder where I'm always off to in such a rush at night. I always woke with a strange sense of needing to go somewhere, to find something, but I never knew what. And there was that odd sensation of being closed off from the world and wrapped in shadow. I had never really done any lucid dreaming before, so I didn't know if it was supposed to feel like I wasn't in control of my own body. Maybe it's more like an out-of-body experience? Is that even a real thing? I looked up at the cat. She was perched effortlessly up there, just staring down at me. I guess you wouldn't know either. I buried my face in my knees and squeezed my legs tightly. I don't know why this is happening. The cat meowed plaintively and vanished back up the path. I don't know why, but I had the distinct feeling she was telling me to stop whining. And now I'm imagining my neighbor's cat is talking to me. No, it's just your Fae blood being able to somewhat translate. Fae cat. Then again, maybe it was just me trying to tell myself that. I shivered and got to my feet. It was too cold to be lurking near the woods in my pajamas, and Elliot wasn't around to sacrifice another hoodie to me. The crackle of underbrush nearby caused me to freeze in my tracks. I glanced that way anxiously. I didn't see anything, but there was something moving around back there for sure. It sounded pretty big. Something gleamed red in the brush. Eyeshine? Okay, that's not a wolf. That's a different kind of growl. A low growl cut through the air. Oh, shoot. I had to get back inside, now. I backed away, then scrambled up the path as fast as I could, surprised I didn't slip and fall flat on my face. Someone cleared the leaves. Brenna! Girl saved me. Twice. With surer footing than I'd had last time I was out at night, I ran up the path to the backyard where I slammed the gate behind me and fled to the back door. As I set my hand on the handle of the back door, a long, wailing cry went up in the distance. I froze instinctively and looked back. What was that? It was too far away to be whatever had been in the trees. Still, a feeling of dread washed over me, and I hurried inside without listening to see if it would happen again. I was careful to lock the door firmly before I fled back to my room as quietly as I could. It was probably nothing. Just a coyote or some weird forest creature. I remembered the Spriggan from last week as I hid myself in my covers. That memory didn't bring a bit of comfort for the rest of the night. Because if Elliot's cat hadn't woken me up, I would still be out there with whatever that was. I had to find a way to keep myself inside at night. Soon.